Hello everyone, Enchanted Emerald. This is Melissa bringing you a reading here for the full moon in Aquarius that we have coming up tomorrow for August 1st. And that is 2023, of course. And so this is going to be a super moon, okay? So I really want to start here by saying I feel the energy of this. First of all, the full moon in the sky last night, if you haven't had a chance to take a peek at that, it just feels amazing. I feel an intense healing coming in with this full moon, and I feel as though this is something that is going to be setting off this huge chain of events for us, and we're going to feel a deep impact for this for a while, okay? I think that this is important to mention here, that this is something that is setting off energies, of course, here before the portal that's going to be opening up for the 8/8 Lionsgate. And I just was shown just pouring energy into us. Beautiful, high vibrational energies coming in for us. So before we are able to process those energies, though, what do we have to do? We have to release things. And that's what the full moon typically is about anyhow. But what I feel with this is a big flushing out of our system, almost as if this is a spiritual detox of a sort. Now, when we talk about detoxing, we think about like maybe detoxing our physical body, right? Where we are maybe drinking our greens and we are juicing, things like that, where we are filling our body with all of the nutrients that we need to get rid of things that we no longer need. Well, that's in essence what we'll be doing with a spiritual detox. This is kind of upgrading our system, but before we do that, we have to defrag it like we do our computers. So we have to get rid of the things that no longer serve us. So this is we're talking about subconscious stuff, our negative thinking, those type of things kind of coming in and really, really being highlighted here. Now, for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I used to work in a hospital, and we talk about the full moon. We would all be like, oh man, it's a full moon. Because for some, that can indicate feelings of anxiety kind of brewing. We can see increased activity around crime or like things like that, or people getting sick and coming into the hospital, right? Where for me, I'm the opposite. It's weird. Generally, full moons make me really tired. So I'm kind of tired today. I've got like my coffee here for sipping on, kind of like propel me through my day. But so setting the stage for all of that, what we really are looking at here is what you need to do is to make sure that you're cleansing your space, right? You want to burn your white sage. You want to clear your energies to prepare yourself. Really get in touch with yourself, meditate. If you are feeling a bit weary, some peppermint tea, some peppermint essential oil. If you're feeling anxious, lavender works really well. Bergamot's great for a nice release, assisting also with depression. So practicing our gratitude, kind of focusing on all of the good things in addition to everything that's happening around us. So this is just kind of prefacing this all for our own heart healing, right? I really feel that this is anchoring us in to really gain clarity and get some peace throughout all of this. But I do feel as though this is a sense that someone is wanting to give you the moon and stars, okay? And perhaps this someone is you. Maybe you've set off on a path where you went down the rabbit hole and you were like, yes, this is it. I'm going to accomplish this. And you were focused, so very focused on that. You put all of your eggs in that basket, and now you're coming out of that kind of feeling disappointed, perhaps, right? Because it's almost as if you promised yourself the world, or this person promised you the world, and they have under-delivered, right? Now, what I hear, though, with this is that Coldplay song, Yellow, the lyrics to that, where if you look up at the stars, look how they shine for you, okay? So I feel as though there is a reminder with that you sometimes have to be your own light, okay? And I'm going to get to that. because I feel like what is happening throughout all of this is that there's this chain of events. Perhaps you are getting some news coming in. You know, there are things that are transpiring, or these epiphanies perhaps that you have come to, these realizations on your own that this isn't going to work, or it doesn't resonate for you anymore. And so then you are working toward coming up with this plan for yourself to get yourself out of this situation, because you are not feeling as fulfilled as you once were. And perhaps you're seeking this adventure. Perhaps you're feeling as though you would like to get yourself into a different space going forward. And so you're just feeling disappointed. But I think that what ultimately is happening is that this news, or your epiphanies, your realizations, can really just set you off into this place of a cascade of change going forward. That is definitely inevitable with this full moon in Aquarius, okay? That is one thing that is very prominent and very strong energy around, is that change, the word of change, feeling of change. Definitely going to feel change from this going forward, okay? So whether that news coming in is perhaps, getting clear around your values, right? What are your core values? What's your why, right? Why you do the things that you do, and that propels you in a certain direction when you determine what path you're going to go down. Perhaps it's about being honest and, getting accountable with your direction, getting accountable with your actions. I do sense that there is a level here for some that it's about indulging in guilty pleasures. And that could be, for some, that could be an obstacle to overcome when it comes to addiction as well. That could be something that could be holding somebody back from meeting their goals. So it could also be coming to some sense of realization when it comes to, your own beliefs, what's true for you, what you've adopted over the years being true for you, or what you were simply taught, or what has been impressed upon you from society, right? Some things we do because we simply don't know any better, and we talk about that because we are influenced, by our subconscious. These are things that have been ingrained, we pick them up as we walk through our life, and then it kind of influences our actions, right? So this is about getting clear with why are we doing the things that we are doing, and what is determining that. And so this is about challenging our thoughts as they're coming through, right? This is about starting to get yourself into a space where you are doing something about that in the external. How can I start to overcome this? And is there a resource that I can rely on externally? What can I start to do to implement those things? Because, yeah, it sounds good, that, you're going to give yourself the world, or this person is going to bring you the world, right? But when you get down to the core of it, are you prepared to make that happen, or is this person prepared to make that happen? And if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. So you got to look at, what is the plan? How can you accomplish those things? Do you have a means to accomplish that plan? And are your actions and your words coinciding? This is very evident, especially with this whole Venus retrograde in Leo thing that's happening. Because within relationships, and even within ourselves, we're starting to get clearer on things that aren't bringing us joy, aren't adding to our life, adding value to our life, right? So this is when we talk about you, really being your own light in the darkness here. This is about you really digging deep here, and this is also about you communicating your needs and being authentic and honest about who you are. And that includes your vulnerabilities as well. So you could be influenced by all of these external things, all of these external forces, like people, places, and things. Where are you going? Who are you hanging out with? and how do they influence you? Do you have a tendency to give into peer pressure when you are with certain parties? Do you listen to certain music when you're with somebody, and then that's something that influences you to maybe act differently? You want to act more tough, or you want to just whatever that looks like when we talk about our external factors, our external forces. Kind of like when we talk about like cigarette ads being in our face, or we talk about these commercials, and then that kind of influences us. It influences our behavior. We're going to go get those latest Nikes that we saw on a commercial because that person on that commercial was running really fast and they looked really stylish and they were really fit, right? It just kind of influences us a little bit. So we have to be more mindful of, okay, so now we're at the store and we're buying those Nikes, but like, we don't necessarily relate that in that moment to that commercial, or perhaps maybe we do. A lot of kids will say, I saw that commercial and I want that new toy, Mom. Can you take me to get that new game? That kind of thing. So, but it's really, being more mindful and talking about our self-awareness, being aware of why we're doing what we're doing and when we're doing that, why we're doing it. So really getting clear on our thoughts and how that influences us, our thinking, right? Challenging those thoughts as they come up. Is this true? Because we're talking about ego here. So, I really think this is setting the stage here for us to calm the noise a bit, okay? Because Aquarius is really logical. We're talking about the mind here. We're talking about our influence of our external forces that have on our mind. Okay, so this is our ability to then flip into a place where we have this sense of awe. And I get this sense with this is really where we become inspired by the vastness of all that is, right? Where we understand that star that you're looking at that's shining above, it's shining regardless of all of the external things. And you have that light within you. You have the ability to still shine regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what's happening externally, regardless of your past. You still have that light shining within you. And how bright that is and how brilliant that light shines is entirely up to you. What force are you feeding? Are you feeding those negative thoughts, or are you feeding that beautiful light? Because as you stand more in your truth, and as you stand in more of your authenticity, and as you allow yourself to be more vulnerable and express more of you, regardless of what's happening, you will allow that light to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. People will feel you. You will become a force, right? And so with this is really about not bringing the world to yourself, not seeking externally for that joy, but becoming that joy that you seek with love, okay? It's about loving yourself and not seeking that so much externally from others, validation from others, not seeking that with circumstances externally that can change. Like, oh, I got this really great job and now I can be happy. No, this is all about you and how you define your path in your life is entirely up to you. But that's all able to change in the blink of an eye. What doesn't change, though, is how you define yourself and how you display yourself to the world. Because we can still be absolutely kind, wonderful, generous, intelligent beings, regardless of the struggle that we're facing in our lives, right? And so this is really as a place to really like delineate or distinguish yourself from others, okay? And this is where I get this sense of just this divide happening, right? Where you're like, oh, like I don't have to be like anybody else. I don't have to how society tells me I don't have to follow the traditional route. And I know that that looks crazy to some people. In fact, I might be self-critical and tell myself that this is crazy. But I get this sense that everything will fall into place. And so as you step into that light, as you step onto that path, you're more and more drawn not to fit in, but to stand out, and to stand out in all of the right ways. So this is where you start digging deeper. And so this is about redefining all of the aspects of yourself that you've been holding on to that are holding you back. Because I think that up until this point, you could have been in some sort of a holding pattern where you're just going in the same 4 spaces, right? Or the same 3 spaces. Maybe you're running in the same baseball diamond, right? You're okay, get the opportunity, I hit the ball and I'm going from the same, 3 spaces, and I'm going back to home, and then I do it all over again and try again, and I'm getting nowhere essentially. So this is where redefining certain aspects of yourself will then start to change the dynamic of how the energy of the universe works with you, and will start to draw in new things for you, new opportunities. You will start to feel as though you're compelled to do things differently. And then that's where everything changes, okay? So when we talk about redefining aspects of ourselves, you could feel compelled to change your lifestyle, right? This could be eating habits, exercise habits. You could be grieving, perhaps, grieving things from the past, and allowing yourself to work with that grieving energy. Understand that this is not just about a process of getting all through the phases of grief and getting yourself to a place of acceptance. This is transformational energy, and it's change energy that you're working with as you grieve, whatever it is that you're grieving. A lost loved one, a career change, a former version of yourself, whatever that looks like for you. This could be about creating new habits for yourself. Now remember, habits take many, many days to create new habits for yourself. But as you start to create those new habits and you actually stick with those, you will change who you are at your core, because you may be drawn to different experiences, new people, right? Start to challenge the thoughts that you're thinking. Oh, that doesn't feel good. I don't like the way that feels. Why is this coming to light? Now, when I talk about challenging our thoughts, again, that ego comes into play. And what I specifically feel here is that our ego can start to feel threatened. And this is where you have to have a tremendous amount of self-awareness. And so this is really understanding that as your ego starts to feel threatened, this is a response of fear as a result of changes in our external. It's a consequence of the change in our external that causes us to feel threatened, that causes maybe a threat to our self-image, maybe a threat to our self-esteem. But we have to get to the core of that and understand, okay, I feel like my image might feel threatened because now I'm changing my career, and my self-esteem might not be as great because I'm not making as much money, or whatever that looks like. Get to the core of that by asking yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself, to really sit with it long enough to understand, is it shame that you're feeling? Is it the grief that you're feeling? Is it sadness, right? Is it anger? I get a big sense of anger with this as well. I feel as though there could be angry outbursts, right? What is that angry outburst from? Is it because you feel as though other people have something that you don't have? Know that if somebody else has something, you have the ability to get that as well, right? So there's no need for the jealousy, right? And so are you being your own critic? I think that we have a tendency to be our biggest critic. So if we have some of those things coming up, if that's at the core of that, are we being fearful that we are not going to be loved any longer? We have to understand that sometimes society kind of imposes this view that vulnerability is weakness upon us, but in fact, it is not. It's not. We have to be vulnerable and we have to be open in order to access that power within us to make the changes that we need and really allow ourselves to get into a space where we have the most beautiful life that we want. We can create this beautiful life for ourselves. So it's a lie that the ego tells us, right? And it's just been perpetuated within society. So the access here, the access point to all of this and breaking it all down is love, self-love, loving one another. And I think that with this, as you start to question yourself and breaking that down, your core values and why you're feeling that way, and asking yourself those hard questions, it is to respond to your thoughts and emotions with love, right? So self-love needs to be perpetuated there. Okay, so have the tough conversations. Know that the love that you seek is within you. And so the more that you show your self-love, the more that love will show up externally for you as well. So beautiful reading here we have for the full moon, and I do so hope that this resonates for you. And thank you so much for tuning in if you have watched me all the way through to the end here. As always, I will be back with another read for you guys again soon. Thank you so much. Take care.